Good morning. Good morning. I always say at this time of day, good morning. How the devil are you doing this fine day? Fine day where you are. How is your summer shaping up? Rained here yesterday afternoon, rained here last night, raining now. If one of the political parties could sort out the British weather, I might actually get off my arse and go and vote for them tomorrow. Maybe, maybe not. Good morning to you, one and all. Hope you're all fit and well. I'm going to say a few good mornings. Quite a few good mornings. And I can tell you nobody's got the mystery machine yet, not surprisingly, because you haven't seen it yet. But I'm going to say good morning to Dan the Man Cullen, who was here at some ridiculous time this morning. Oh, 9:52, not too bad. Morning, Dan. Let's have a look. Where are we? There you are. There's Dan Cullen. Good morning, one and all plant porn addicts alike. How the hell are we all? Well, I'm doing absolutely fine. Firing on all cylinders at the moment, as you're about to hear. Mark Whiting is here. Morning, Mark. Thank you very much indeed for being here. Gary Muirhead is here as well. Jim Turner's here as well. Steve Williamson, who is a little under the weather today. Morning, all feeling crap today. Head is absolutely thumping. If you need me to speak a little more quietly, Steve, just say the word and I shall whisper sweet nothings into your ear. As I say, lots of people guessing the mystery machine. You're not even close. What cap is that you're wearing? This. Hope that gave it away. It's a Wacker Neuson hat and established in 1848. Just to be clear, that's them, not me. I'm fairly old, not that old. As I say, mystery machine, lots of guesses. None of that is actually right. Matt Lundy, morning, Matt. Good of you to join us. And I'll have to turn down the volume. That shirt's a bit loud. It's kind of. You're about to hear. I tell you what, I won't even bore you with the next bit. Dan Cullen says that's my next hat. I have to say, there's one very similar to this that Bobcat do, or they, as far as I thought they did. When I was in Czech Republic, they had one like this, but this panel here was that colour. It was absolute corker, and I thought I'm going to buy that, and then I didn't. And now I've been on their website, and they don't have them. So I don't know what's going on there. Dave Paget, all the way from Kent Demolition. Morning, Dave. Thank you very much indeed for being here. Thank you for joining us. Now, I realise that you all probably think that I just do this show and go and sit on the sofa, put my feet up, drink tea, eat my body weight in hobnobs. On most days, that's entirely true. But for some reason, I'm on a bit of a creative roll at the moment. Not only did I record, edit, and upload the latest episode of our AI podcast yesterday afternoon, I also wrote and uploaded another brand new column. I'll come back to the podcast in just a moment, but I can tell you that the article is all about those companies and those individuals that collapse companies and then immediately return as if nothing has happened. They crack on with their life all the time. Their supply chain is licking its wounds. So that's what that's all about. Hello, everyone here. I'm here for a serious relationship, says Lil Dog Music. You've come to the wrong place, I'm afraid, my friend. The cap matches your shirt. I listen, I don't just throw this stuff together. I realise I'm sat at home, but I don't just throw this stuff together. Anyway, going back to the column. The column itself is behind a paid firewall, and I apologise for that. But if you haven't already checked out the Demolition Insider podcast or website before, you may actually qualify for a free trial anyway. So don't get too excited about that. And frankly, if you'd like to support the last actual journalist in the demolition business, you might like to subscribe. Who the hell knows? No pressure. But you can find, if you're in our WhatsApp group, you've already seen a link to the article. If you're not, the link is in the chat. Dan Cullen, serious relationship with a demo machine. Yes, indeed. So yes, that's the article. Now, I mentioned the fact that there's a new podcast episode today. It's all about what the Volvo Vice President Melker Yenberg described as the S-curve of innovation, and how we can be slow as a society. We can be slow to adopt new technology, at least at first. Now, the full episode is about 10 minutes long, but I do actually have a clip to play you. This bit's only about a minute long, so this gives you a taste of exactly what the new podcast is all about. One of my beliefs is we have the promise of hydrogen-fueled construction equipment in the not-too-distant future. And I'm now starting to wonder if people are hanging on rather than jumping into electric and then having to adopt hydrogen, whether they're actually just sitting on their hands and waiting for hydrogen to arrive. Is there any precedent for that?
Yes, there is precedent for industries and users delaying adoption of an intermediate technology like electric while waiting for a more advanced technology like hydrogen to become available. This phenomenon is often referred to as waiting for the next big thing. It can occur when stakeholders anticipate that a newer technology will offer superior benefits, such as better performance, lower costs, or greater sustainability compared to existing alternatives. In such cases, the adoption of the intermediate technology, electric in this scenario, may be slower than expected because potential users are holding out for the perceived benefits of the future technology, hydrogen. This behavior can impact the S-curve of innovation by prolonging the early phases for the current technology and shifting adoption patterns towards the anticipated future technology.
So I'll just say good morning to Peter McKenna, who's just joined us. Morning, Peter. Thank you very much indeed for being here. That's a glimpse of the podcast. It will actually drop on YouTube and on LinkedIn and a host of podcast platforms, including Spotify, at 11:30 today. You can go and have a look at that. Dan says, "Remember when you used to do your shows in your sunglasses? Yeah, they're still here. They're still right by my side." My eyesight is not all that it was, but that because I didn't need to read anything yesterday, I could go back to the sunglasses, and I thought I looked pretty damn spiffing as well. Steve says your lights are not behind you. They're not. Thank you. Do you know what's a funny thing? And I will start the show in a second. I use Apple reminders, and I've got a long list of about 30 things that I need to do before I start the show. You know, turn on the microphone, turn on the lights and stuff. I went on it to this morning. I ticked off all the boxes and then checked the microphone. Microphone wasn't working. So about 5 minutes ago, well, actually about 9 minutes ago, I actually had to restart the computer and get this thing back up and running. So while I'm playing the intro, I will go back and turn on the lights. Most of them, if I can reach them anyway. So that's where we are. Without further ado, I'm going to roll the intro, post the question of the day, and get this show on the road. That's better. I look the right colour now. Fantastic. Thanks for the reminder, Steve. Dan Cullen says coverage is silly buggers again. I wish there were a wand that I could Harry Potter and give you coverage, but I can't do that, I'm afraid. Anyway, anywho, it is Wednesday, the 3rd of July. Welcome to the Breakfast Show. I am your host, Mark Anthony, the walrus of Demolition. In today's show, Walking with Monsters, we're going to get up close with the Caterpillar 6060 mining excavator. We're going to find out how JCB is grabbing the backhoe loader market. We're checking out an awesome hybrid wheel loader from Komatsu, and we're going behind the scenes at the mighty Manitou. Plus, we're headed back to Hillhead 2024 to discover why electric breakers could well be the future. But before we get to all of that, obviously we do have our mystery machine to solve. Once again, and let me just take that away because I want you to see all of it. Once again, I've not made it easy. It's a machine that you'll all know. Generally, it's a brand you'll know. It's a machine you'll know, but it might be a little unfamiliar. I'm trying to make it as hard as I possibly can today. So let's have a look. Just need to answer a question from Dan Cullen. Dan, can you get reading sunglasses? I probably could. Yeah, I probably could. But I have to tell you, these cost me £1. £1 on eBay, actually. Cut a long story short, for those of you that weren't here at the very beginning, there is a light above my head, but it's off. And there's also a light in front of me. The problem I used to have, particularly when I was on the original 2 monitor setup, was I had a light on my head, which is why I took to wearing the hat. That's to solve that. And then my eyes, it looked like I was having some kind of seizure, rocking back and forth. So I started wearing sunglasses, but then I got to the point where I couldn't actually see through them, which is why I'm there. Gary Muirhead says, a spare thought for the poor people of Jamaica bracing themselves for some troubled weather. I didn't know that. There's a bit of me that thinks, well, they get good weather the rest of the time, but if it's bad weather down that way, I would imagine it's going to be very, very bad indeed. So yes, thoughts are with all of those in Jamaica. Ken Hatch has just turned up. Good morning, just had my sprockets serviced. Is that a euphemism, Ken? Is it? We think we need to know. Morning all, getting ready for to sleep all day tomorrow. Yes, it is going to be one of those days, I think. Dan Cullen is here as well. Well, we already know that Dan Cullen's here. So, Mystery Machine, I've given it the big intro. Let's have a look at what you have to work with. There you are. So, all about all those people that suggested it was tracked shovels and various types of excavators, you're a million miles away. So that's what you've got to work with. I'll leave that up. I'm just going to say this from Gary Muirhead. What about the black curtain that used to be behind you? Yeah, we were back. I mean, the original part or the original version of this show and the one that went before it. I'm in basically a bedroom. I call it the studio, but it's nothing like. I'm in a tiny bedroom, tiny little box room, and it was a mess when we first moved into the house. A load of stuff got dumped here. So to cover that up, I had a pole going across. I need to take this away for a second. I had a pole going across the ceiling, and there was a black curtain on it, and we had a couple of lights. One of the lights is still in action, actually. There. If you can see that purple light there, I had a couple of lights shining up the curtain, but it did look a lot like I was coming live and direct from Dracula's boudoir. So we had a bit of a rejig. All of this behind me, including that right there, which is from Gary Muirhead, that right there, which is from YouTube, that right there is from our youngest viewer, and then over here we've got Despe hard hat that I brought back. That's from Gary Muirhead as well. That's from YouTube. So we've gradually added all these bits and pieces, improved the lighting both here and behind there, and then we've got all of this nonsense going on here. So yes, the black curtain is highly unlikely to make a return. So back to the Mystery Machine. Ken Hatter has gone for the Kubota Mini. It's not. Gary Muirhead reckons it could be a JCB CTS 8008. It is not one of those, but stick around if you like JCB, because we're going to be going over to there in a moment. Garvin over on Instagram says a little Yanmar track dumper. Tis not. And Sean Remington. Good morning, Sean. Thank you very much indeed for joining us all the way from LinkedIn land. Good of you to be here. I'm going to take away the Mystery Machine for just a moment because we do need to crack on. But before I do anything else, I do need to remind you very quickly of our question of the day. Yeah, having been told yesterday that I reused our question of the day, I went back to the drawing board for today's. My question today is this. If you could get an AI or a robot to perform a single task for you, what task would you choose? Now, work-wise, I'd love an AI to take all the highlights, such as they are, of this show and then distribute them across social media. That would really save me a job. I'd love to have that. Personally, an AI to remember all the birthdays and anniversaries that I need to deal with and to order the appropriate gifts, that would be dead handy. But what about you? To be perfectly honest, if I could just train a robot to make me a decent cup of tea every hour on the hour, that would be marvelous too. But if you've got any tasks that you would like to hand off to AI, I'd love to hear about them. Now, going back to our Mystery Machine, look, what have we got? We've got Gary Muirhead going for an Avant 423. It is not one of those. Dan Cullen is going for a Hitachi U17-3. It's not. Sunward 18 US, says Steve Williamson. It's none of those things. So let me show you a smidgen more. Well, I think that clarifies that it's not on wheels, but it doesn't probably tell you a great deal more. But keep the guesses coming in. There are points up for grabs as it stands at the moment. The league table, I'll tell you. Top, but on goal difference, Steve Williamson. Second place, me, thanks to my victory yesterday. Third, everybody else. 0 points across the board, apart from myself and Steve Williamson, who is winning by the breadth of a sporran. But we'll come back to that a little bit later on, because we do need to crack on. And we need to crack on immediately after this. Just so you know, Sean Remington, who's just joined us, works for Divestiture. I've been and seen Divestiture some time ago. He's an excavator operator and an expert in demolition operations. Good. It's nice to have a bit of demolition representation here, apart from myself. You know, I don't really count. So good morning, Sean. Thank you very much indeed for being here. Let's have a look. What have we got? Steve Williamson is going for the Takuchi TB217 on our mystery machine. It's not, but let me just quickly remind you, that's what you're working with at the moment. I can show you. I tell you what, just being kind. Pale Job 3-tonner, says Dan Cullen. It's not one of those either, but there you are. You've got a little bit more to look at there. Does that help in any way, shape, or form? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but I'm taking it away for now, because we do need to go. We're going to go. That looks. I'm not going to give it the game away, but we're going to go and look at something pretty damn big right now. Caterpillar 6060. Never actually seen one of these in the flesh. I'd love to. Caterpillar, if you're watching, please.
Been earth moving and mining 90% of my life. Predominantly in that time I've been with Caterpillar. Particularly love the new 6060 excavators. As I get older in life, the Caterpillars are a lot easier on the body. There's various features throughout the machine that makes it very easy. Particularly love the new cabs, the space age cab on them. Very comfortable, very quiet, good visibility, not restricted with headroom in the cab. A breeze to operate, really. It does have new seat and new armrest system that Caterpillar have come out with as well, so you can adjust your armrest to each an individual operator. Technology with the cooling packs in the engine room. There again, hot day outside, you walk in there and remains really cold during the summer. It can be a 50-degree day outside and you can still control it down to around 20 degrees inside. Very cool, quite amazing. The end of the shift and you're still as fresh as a daisy as when you walked into it, which comes down to the technology they've put in it with ergonomics, visibility, quietness in the cab. There's no stress in operating it, just easy, very easy. When you're digging, picking up your benches, very good visibility to your left-hand side. New camera system in them is very good as well, gives you a 360 degree of the machine. It's great. I just can't say enough, really enjoy coming to work.
Really enjoy coming to work. Sounds a bit like me. Loving life at the moment. Mystery Machine has apparently got you a bit stuck at the moment. Dan Cullen is going for a Hobelco. I'm guessing he's driving at the same time. Kobelco. It's not a Kobelco, but a good guess. Volvo EC18, says Gary Muirhead. It's not one of those. It's not an XCMG 1-tonner either, says Jim. Peter McKenna says it could be a Kubota KX 015-4. It is not. And Dan goes for the XCMG XE35U. It is not one of those either. I'm going to take that away for just a second because Gary Muirhead says, I've saw the AR Demolition big low loader, an escort van, empty passing me this morning on the M8 motorway in Glasgow. I wonder where they're going. Mr. Dolman, if you're watching, if you're paying attention, where are you going? Where are your team going? Up in Bonnie, Scotland. All I will say is Scotland's about to, well, Scotland already has some very good demolition contractors anyway, but they're about to get another one by the sound of it. Mick says, tried to download a video last night. Bunch of Indian fellas working on a cat excavator. Bloody hell, they were clever little sods. If cats see what they've done, they should get them over. Mick, try to send me the link if you would be so kind. I'd love to see what these clever little buggers are up to. But while we're doing that, we'll come back with the mystery machine in just a moment. Don't forget our question of the day, which I'm just going to remind you of very, very quickly. And just to be clear, Mark Whiting has suggested that our mystery machine could be a Wacker Neuson 1.8 ton. Do you think I would actually give you a clue with my hat? Maybe I have. On this occasion, I have not. Steve Williamson is going a little more obscure. A hen wag. It sounds like some sort of female party, doesn't it? Ah, yes. Going to the hen wag this weekend. It's not a hen wag at all. It's not a mammoth excavator 20 MT, but mammoth is a good answer. Wacker Neuson 803 says Gary Muirhead. It's not a whacker at all. But yeah, keep the guesses coming in. We'll be back in with a familiar face, actually, in just a moment, immediately after this.
If you are enjoying this episode, please consider supporting the show. You can leave us a tip at buymeacoffee.com/demolition news.
Yeah, I promised you a familiar face. Let's show you a familiar face. This is Georgina. Used to be the JCB Digger Girl, now apparently the Happy Digger. Either way, Georgina.
Hi, my name's Georgina Williams and I work on the backhoe loader product team at JCB. The 6-in-1 clamshell shovel on a JCB backhoe loader has lots of different functions, one of which is grabbing. Grabbing is really useful for site clearance and for picking and moving things such as logs around site. In this video, we're going to show you one way that you can use the 6-in-1 shovel to grab logs and move them around.
The 6-in-1 can easily be used to grab and pick up objects such as logs and tree stumps. The Orc's thumb toggle on the right joystick operates the 6-in-1 clamshell to open and close. With the clamshell fully open, ensure the dozing edge of the shovel is close to the ground. Drive forwards towards the logs being grabbed. Once the logs are touching the dozing edge of the shovel, begin to slowly close the 6-in-1. As the 6-in-1 is nearly closed, crowd back the shovel whilst raising the loader arms to secure the load. The grabbing function can also be used when collecting the final remnants of a pile of material which needs to be moved. With the 6-in-1 fully open, drive towards the material and place the open shovel over the pile. Drive backwards slowly, allowing the edge of the 6-in-1 to drag the material. Begin to close the clamshell whilst curling the bucket back to capture material in the bucket.
So there you have it guys, how to grab with a 6-in-1 attachment for a backhoe loader. Thank you for watching. Check out our playlist for more videos.
Anybody in the audience got nails as good as those? I bet you haven't. Thanks for that, Georgina. Anything else you'd like to add?
Hi, I'm Georgina Williams, aka JCB Digger Girl, and you're watching The Breakfast Show.
Yeah, probably going to need to get that updated with her new name, don't I? Yeah, probably do. Chris Ford says she didn't tell you to put the bucket in float when grabbing. Oh, maybe I need to update my video. Maybe they need to update theirs. Who the hell knows? Now let's have a look. Mystery machine. A vote. Whatever one of those is. A 1.8 mini digger. It is not one of those. A Neumann NME35. Not one of those either. Or a Yanmar 3-tonner. It's not one of those. I tell you what, where are we? I can show you a smidgen more. There you are. Does that help at all? I realise, I know I deliberately went completely obscure yesterday with the Indian built machine. This is something that you all know, by the way. This is not obscure. And I know you're going for some weird and wonderful Chinese and Korean names. This is a lot more obvious than that. That's the only clue you're going to get. A Sunward 1.5 tonner. It's not. It's probably even better known than that. Dan Cullen says, great video. Nothing to do with me. That was entirely Georgina and the fine folks at JCB, but I totally agree. Fantastic video. I'd like to see more of those. Educational type things, how-tos and what have you. So I think there'd be a real market for those. We're going to show you something a little more interesting. We're going hybrid in just a moment with the mighty Komatsu, so stick around. I wonder if hybrid machines have kind of got lost in translation, a little bit forgotten. Up at Hillhead, we were walking around the stand, and there, obviously big display of electric equipment from Volvo, as an example, but they had a hybrid machine on their stand. And I think the argument between diesel, electric, hydrogen, have we overlooked hybrid? Don't let's overlook it when it comes to Komatsu.
The biggest thing that I share with people is how quickly technology has really sunk into the mining industry. Technology is embedded in everything that we do. This being the third generation of 1850, we've got 30 years of experience with our customers on the development of this platform and the technology behind it. The changes that we've made to the product specifically from a productivity and reliability standpoint will allow the customers to have more flexibility towards the production side, especially as mining operations get bigger, the pits get larger, and the haul roads get longer. The other thing that we took a hard look at was how much technology was being introduced into cabs, not just by us, but also by our customers. And so we really wanted to focus and give them the ability and flexibility to add that technology and scale it as they needed for their application as they go forward. We've addressed some improvements in the operator seat to give them more comfort. We addressed some ergonomic issues with some joysticks to provide better comfort for the operator. When I talked to people and talked about what we're able to do with our remote health monitoring capability, our data analytics, combining drone footage with the application studies, this is stuff that 10, 15 years ago nobody was really doing. And today it's second nature and it's almost expected as far as what we can offer our customers.
There you are. That's the Komatsu hybrid. Now, we've had more. Well, get to the guesses on the mystery machine in a moment. Going to say good morning to Lou Carney, who's just said late to the party. Morning, everyone. Morning, Lou. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Welcome to the archers of the plant world. Mystery machine. I'm starting to wonder if I might actually go to the top of the table today, because we've got a guess here of a Lugon. It's not. We've got a Sani SY19E. It's not one of those. Not a Rhinoceros. Not a Robotech. Not a Cabelco. Not a Zoom line. It's none of those things. None of those things. Chris Forward says, just think you could watch a few more of these instructional videos, get a plastic card and think you're worth £20, £20 an hour sat on the seat. You kind of could, couldn't you? Let me take that away just for a moment. Matthew Sheridan. Good morning, Matthew Sheridan. Over on LinkedIn. My feeling is there will be various alternative fuels. There'll be application size dependent from battery, hydrogen, and grid connected. Yeah, I mean, certainly grid connected. I would certainly say if you're in a static application like port handling or something like that, I can certainly see the notion of that. Maybe in a waste transfer station as well, where you're on a tethered. It doesn't matter that you're on a tethered connection because you're not traveling back and forth. I understand that. My concern with all of this is, particularly when it comes to rental, can you sensibly run a mixed fuel fleet? Can you have diesel and electric and hydrogen and possibly I don't know, HVO, biofuel, whatever it might be? Can you do that and really keep on top of it? It starts to become a bit of a problem. But Matthew Sheridan is also going for an XCMG on our mystery machine. It's not one of those. Here's a bit more. Does that tell you anything? Now, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I know what this machine is because it's written down on a piece of paper in front of me. I wouldn't get it from that, but maybe one of you might. Chris Ford is going for the Volvo EC15. It's not one of those. Not one of those at all. Keep the guesses coming in. We'll be back immediately after a smidgen of this.
Since the finance bill came into effect in April, the construction industry has seen a surge of fuel thefts. The rising cost of living has placed an additional risk of theft by employees and contractors, as well as opportunistic thieves. By using diesel dye and placing warnings of its use, you are sending a clear message that this is your fuel.
So over the past couple of months, we've given you a look behind the scenes of various major manufacturers. I think we've done Komatsu, and I think it was a Caterpillar one. I think there was an XCMG one as well. Now it's time to go and have a peer behind the curtain at Manitou.
In a world in motion, transformation is a fundamental necessity. To address major societal and environmental challenges and continue to act responsibly and sustainably. As a world reference in the handling, aerial work platforms, and earth-moving sectors, we collectively work to make life safe and easy. Day after day, we strive to improve working conditions, safety, and performance worldwide, while protecting people and their environment. With products and services distributed across 140 countries, we play an active role in this world in motion. We deploy our expertise at every step of our products' life cycles, from their design to their end of life, and even beyond. With innovation as our DNA and data as a game changer, we develop solutions to rise to the needs of our clients, to make their everyday easier, to transform uses, to push the boundaries, reinvent ourselves, to open up new horizons, all the while investing constantly, in particular in our manufacturing assets. All of this is only possible thanks to our committed, passionate, and reliable people. We are proud to belong to a rich ecosystem with a wide array of skill sets, from R&D to industrial plants, from spare parts distribution to software design, from digital tech to data management, from finance to sales. We are and we remain a resolutely people-centric and ethically driven group. More than ever, we set the world in motion.
Pretty damn smart. Now, loads and loads of things to catch up on, and I can tell you we do have a winner on our mystery machine. Come back to that in a second. We've had a huge message from Forklift HT, all the way from China, Shandong province to be precise. They're clearly trying to advertise their wares. We don't do that sort of thing here, but all the way from China. Yeah. So you know when you turn on one of these shows and you think, is anybody watching? There are people watching over in China. I don't know how to say good morning or good afternoon or good evening in Chinese, but you're welcome. I've mentioned the fact that we do have a winner. I'll come back to that in just a moment. But going back to the point about all things electric, hydrogen, and other points in between, Matthew Sheridan, just as a very quick reminder, Matthew actually works for Liebherr, so he knows his stuff. He says this is exactly why OEMs need to be guided by the customers, market, and infrastructure plans. Absolutely right. Particularly the customers, I would say, because ultimately it's those that have got to make it work. So if you do have any thoughts on the future fuel situation, speak to Liebherr. Tell them what you need. Tell them what you want. Tell them what you desire. As I say, we do have a winner of the mystery machine, but I do need to show you some of the wrong answers. So Gary Muirhead went for a Cat 301.7 CR. It is not. It is not a Hyundai Teletruck. It is not a Rhino XN08. It is not a Luyu. Didn't she play Glastonbury this weekend? I can tell you the absolutely correct answer. I'll tell you what, I'm going to show you this. Peter McKenna reckons it could be a Doosan DX20X electric excavator. So close, you could almost reach out and touch it, but the absolute correct answer is this. Dan Cullen, it is a Doosan DX20ZE. That is precisely what it is. Dan Cullen has his first points on the board, and just to prove that he's not winding us all up, there it is. That's what you're looking at, a Doosan DX20ZE, all-electric mini excavator. Obviously, I guess, been rebranded as a Develon by now, but that's what it is. So, Dan Cullen, you join myself and Steve Williamson at the tippity top of the league table for the Mystery Machine. Mick has just said, let me take that away. Mick has just said, picked up something while at work last night. Apparently, there's a firm making airtight container for EV batteries. Also comes with a fire suppression system incorporated inside. Still in prototype days, but it makes you wonder about those batteries. It does indeed. Chris Ford, somewhat belatedly, is suggesting our Mystery Machine is a Komatsu PC-35. That ship has sailed, I'm afraid, Chris, and it is most definitely a Doosan. Now, I do need to go back to this. Peter McKenna says, according to the Thomas Plant low loader driver, electric machines are worthless. Okay. Far be it from me to shoot down the low loaders' thoughts. I have driven, let me think, I've driven electric machines from Volvo, from Liebherr, from JCB, from Bobcat. Yeah, I've got to be honest with you. I'm kind of erring towards the multi-billion-pound organisations a little bit more than I am from a low loader operator. And I'm sure he meant well. And my guess is he probably knows his stuff as well. But the absolute truth is, please, for the love of all that's holy, go and try one. Get yourself to an open day, get yourself to a demo day, get yourself to an exhibition, get behind the controls, get behind the levers of an electric machine, and then come back and tell me what you think, because I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. I think Thomas Plant may lose a bit of support from whoever they get the electric machines from. It's a good point. Yes, or could possibly lose the low loader operator. If the ship has sailed and I'm on it, it must be the Titanic. Yes, speaking of sinking ships, good morning, Worthing. Yes, well done, Dan. So, yes, as I say, it's a three-way tie at the top of the Mystery Machine League table now. It is myself in third, been leapfrogged by Dan Cullen, and right at the very top, Steve Williamson. We'll be back with more Mystery Machines tomorrow. Now, we've just been talking about electric, and there's more to electric than just emissions. Okay, I want you to take a look at what we're about to show you. While you're doing that, I need to go and have a look at WhatsApp. I don't know why, but I'm going. Peter says, I'm not having that i1. It's an X machine. Now, let me just check. No, it definitely, 100%. I can see ZE written on the back of it. So there has been a steward's inquiry, and the steward has ruled in favour of Mr. Cullen. Sorry, Peter, but no, definitely an XE. Definitely an XE. So I said electric and other benefits. Back after this. I can't see all of this. Equipment to be showcased by Hyundai, Doosan, Infracore, and Hyundai at Bauma. I probably need to read that on a bigger screen because I can't actually see what the issue is there. Do we have any figures on resale value, running cost, and the cost of buying electric equipment over a diesel one yet? No, unfortunately. And I realise I sound like I'm part of the electric revolution here. The problem is it's no good trying to base figures like that on a single sale. What we need is dozens, hundreds, ideally thousands to go across Ritchie Brothers, Weybridge, or whatever it might be, to get a proper handle on it. Because obviously, if you might sell one used electric machine that might have been treated like an absolute dog and is falling apart, which would generate one type of resale value, and you might get another one that's been properly looked after. The battery's been properly cared for, in which case it's going to fetch a higher premium. Still too early, I think, but I am watching it very, very closely. So, speaking of all things electric, as I say, I found this fascinating, and I found it fascinating for one very specific reason. When I was first made aware of the fact that this Lekatech electric breaker had been invented, I was very skeptical. I was sat here thinking, but apart from sound, really and truly, breakers do not make much in the way of emissions. There's no smoke or exhaust or anything like that. Yes, they throw a bit of dust around the place, but nothing major to worry about. I couldn't understand why somebody had gone electric. I now understand, and this is why.
G'day, my name is Antti Anttila, the CEO of Lekatech, a Finland-based startup, and we are in Hillhead 2024 here. Lekatoras, that's the first electric hammer out in the market. So never done before. We have developed the technology from scratch. We can provide with electric hammer much more performance to the hammering than with a conventional technology. We can do the same work with much less energy consumption than a hydraulic hammer. So that actually enables the use of electric carriers in different works where they have not previously been possible to be used. Not directly, but indirectly, we impact in the electrification of the carriers as well. Once you have electricity available, then the electric hammer as such is a much better tool than a hydraulic hammer. There's more power there, there's more adjustability there, so we can choose different modes for different work applications that the hammer would be doing. We can also sequence those modes if needed. For example, if you want to have like every 10th hit to be a hard one, we can do that. Obviously, it's an electric hammer. You need electricity for that, and the power consumption is somewhere 15 kilowatts plus or minus something with this 500 kilo hammer. So you need to have that electricity coming from somewhere. Optimal solution is to have it coming from a high voltage battery, 700 volt battery. But you can also use grid connection if that's available and the battery is not available. We are now in the 500 kilo class. We will be going both up and down as the market demands in the next introductions then to the market. We want to have this first commercial and then we go with the next models. We have not yet decided whether that's a small one or a large one because there are indications coming from both directions that we should go in them. Of course, also when we go into those, then different voltage ranges we need to address. Now we are looking at 700 volts. When we go to smaller ones, we probably need to go lower voltage. When we go upwards, we'll see what we need to do. I don't find any reason why you should buy anything else because, you take any feature of hydraulic hammer, you compare it with this one, this is always better. And that's it.
Have to say, mightily impressed. I've spent a lot of time kicking around hydraulic breakers, worked very closely with Rammer for quite a long time. Still remain a major fan of the Rammer hammer, the Epiroc, and all the things that go with it. But I have to say, really, really impressed. And it's the controllability, nothing to do with emissions. It's the controllability to be able to actually set down to the finest detail, set that hammer to meet the carrier needs and to meet the application needs. I think that's an absolute winner. Anybody got any comments on that? I'd love to hear from you. I do want to go back. I don't know the answer to that. Okay, 700 volts. What sort of amperage? I will check with the fine folks at Lekatech, and I'll come back to you. Might not be this week because I think the Finns are actually on a shutdown at the moment. But I'll come back to you just as soon as I can. But I will ask the question. More pressure being added to an overloaded and aging national grid. Yeah, yes, maybe. But is that a problem for the construction equipment industry, or is that a problem for governments to solve? Personally, I think it's for the governments to solve. But we'll just continue that discussion. I do want to go back. I don't know if he's still here, but Matthew Sheridan of Leaphair was here. Just to let you know, Matthew, if you are still paying attention, and I don't blame you if you're not, but I will tell you, we have done dedicated shows now with Caterpillar. We've got one coming up with Volvo in about a week's time. It's actually this time next week, funnily enough. This time next week, we're doing a special with Volvo. There is a call from our audience to do a dedicated Leaphair show. Actually, just sit here on Wednesday at 7 o'clock, time of your choosing, just to talk about nothing but Leaphair. If you are up for that, please let me know. And he is here. So Matthew, please take that away to your friends, colleagues, superiors, whoever it might be. We have an audience here that would like to know more about all things Liebherr. We'll play your videos. We'll do giveaways, Liebherr branded stuff. We'll have a long old chat. The one with Caterpillar was 2 hours. I'm not promising we'll last that long, and I can't promise that we won't. But if you would love to come on, we'd love to do that. And he says, okay, I can do that. Awesome. Let's fix a date. Let's do that offline. But there you are. Sorry to back you into a corner, but that's the audience. The audience have spoken, and they want to hear about Liebherr. So let's try and make that happen, shall we? Send me an email, please. I will do precisely that, Matthew. Not a problem at all. That pretty much wraps up the main part of this morning's show. I'm going to roll the outro in just a second before leaping gazelle-like into the chat. But just want to quickly remind you, if you're into all things electric, so I know some are, some aren't. Latest AI podcast is scheduled to drop on YouTube at 11:30 today. It'll also be over on LinkedIn. And if you would like to take a look on any of the major podcast platforms, it's going to be on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and a whole host of others as well later this morning. I think it goes live at 11:30. So please give it a listen, give it a watch. I don't think you can do it. Give it a sniff if you like. I don't think that would actually work, but go have a look. Gary Muirhead says, have you had anything back from Tiger Bite yet? I haven't, for one very good reason. I didn't get around to actually reaching out to them. I was so busy recording podcasts and writing articles yesterday, I haven't got around to doing that. But thank you for the reminder. It's on my list anyway, but I will give them a call. So as I say, I'm going to leap gazelle-like over into the chat. Blah-de-blah. If you can't stick around for that, please stay safe. Look after yourself, your family, your friends, and your colleagues. I hope you have a fantastic day. Hope to see you again very soon. But if you do have the time and the inclination, I'll be back with the Craic immediately after this word from our key show sponsor, the fine folks at MB Crusher. Good morning. Good morning. See, we've got people watching from China. Don't know actually what they got out of it, but we're also setting up future shows with the fine folks at Liebherr. Dan Kahn says, I'd love a day in a Liebherr. There are very few finer places to be. Yeah, particularly the big machines. If you, I mean, the small machines are fantastic as well, but if you get a chance to actually get behind the levers of one of their bigger excavators, it will ruin you for other brands. That's the only concern. Once you go Liebherr, it's kind of tough to go back. There's another version of that. I'm not going to go there. Everybody, good morning. How are we? It's a big day tomorrow, isn't it? Big day tomorrow. Are you voting? I'm not. Not even remotely interested, but yeah. I just pray for the country. That's all I do. Morning, Mark. Good morning, Gary. Good morning to Jim and to Steve. Let's rattle through and see if we can find... what have we got? I think we've got... Oh, there's the link, actually, to today's column, an unwelcome return. I don't know if any of you have been on either side of this. This notion that companies can just basically shut up shop, take a company voluntary administration, a CVA, or just declare themselves bankrupt, or have somebody do it for them, and then they apparently have managed to squirrel away most of their assets, and they turn up completely unmarked, untainted a week later under a new name, and as Gary Muirhead calls it, a 5-gallon overhaul, tin of paint to cover up the old name, and a new sticker for the new company. Yeah. And it does appear, I mean, there's one going on my side of the business at the moment. 2 failed companies. So, as a result, there was a third company lying dormant, waiting for the inevitable to be launched. Is that right? Can you come back and just pretend that all is well, and that the fact that you owed people hundreds, thousands, possibly even millions of pounds? You just pop back and go, let's crack on, shall we? Doesn't sit well with me. Dan was talking about the. I've lost my music. Forgot to put the looping back on. Bear with me a sec. Dan was talking about the Graham Group, who for the second year running have had a turnover that has topped the £1 billion mark. £1 billion. That's a hell of a lot of zeros. Chris Ford says, "Good morning, tribe. Hope your arrows are sharp. Mine is as dull as the next issue of Demolition Hub." Just saying. Peter McKenna's here. Good morning, Peter. Good of you to join us. Remember when you used to do your shows in sunglasses? What was that all about? There was a reason. What was that all about? It's been put back actually. I'm due to go on an American podcast to talk about how this show has evolved and everything else, and I'm looking forward to doing it. But some of it, I mean, some of the things like that, from the audience, from Gary Muirhead, that's for good reason. The sunglasses were to make it look like I wasn't having a seizure. The hat was to take the shine off my noggin. All of that. All of this is just collector's items. It's stuff that I've picked up along the way, and I thought it would look kind of cool as a permanent reminder of some of the things that I've done. But so much of the way that this show looks, sounds, the content, things like Question of the Day, not my idea. That was you lot. Mystery Machine, that wasn't my idea. That was you lot as well. So much of this has come directly from you guys, and I'm basically going to sit there on this American podcast and come across as yes, well, we do this and we do that and we do the other. You should probably be interviewing you lot because you came up with so much of this. Let's have a look. The lights aren't on behind me. That was early doors, and it was yes, I rectified that situation. And yes, what about the black curtain? What was I thinking? I mean, I the first time I did it, I thought, well, that looks kind of cool. But because we didn't have the light in front of me, it was quite dark in here. And it really did look like a really, really cheap 1970s Dracula set. Loads of guesses on our Mystery Machine today. But we ultimately ended up with Dan Cullen winning the prize. And he takes second place in tied for first place, I would say. Question of the day. This is our question of the day. If you could get an AI or a robot to do a single task for you, what task would you choose? Jim Turner immediately says, weed picking. We don't spray our fields if we don't like chemicals, so we chop and pick wheels. But a robot roaming the fields picking weeds would be perfect. Yeah, I have to say we have an issue in our back garden. Obviously not on the scale that our friend Jim has. Got a problem in our back garden. We are overrun with brambles. We've got. At some point this year, we will be drowning in blackberries. But as it stands at the moment, all of our plants are being swallowed up, and our blackberry bushes are that virulent, I guess is the word. They've not only taken over our garden, but they've popped next door as well. So I'm gonna have to go next door with a set of secateurs and try and trim them back. So yes, if I could find an AI or a robot that would do that, that would be absolutely fantastic. What were we talking about here? Dan Cullen says about the 6060. Sitting in that, we like watching a 60-inch plasma at home. Only more fun, I would say. Steve Williamson to do the house chores, an AI to do the house chores. Yeah, I mean, and I know we've got these like Roomba things that roam your house and do the vacuuming. I'd like it to do more than that. Put the kettle on, feed the dogs, do the hoovering, do a bit of ironing, maybe. Although I have to say, I don't know about you lot. I'm quite specific with how my shirts are ironed. Don't care about anything else, but quite specific about how my shirts are ironed. And my dad was exactly the same, and I'm sure that's where I've got it from, because my dad had to wear a suit and a shirt and a tie every day to work. So he's very specific about how his shirts were ironed and stuff, and I've inherited that. So I actually find ironing relatively, and I do mean relatively, kind of therapeutic, cathartic. Don't mind, stick a pair of AirPods in, stick a podcast on, do a couple of shirts or whatever. I don't mind that at all. However, if somebody came up with an AI or a robot that could do shirts as in the way that I like, I was not going to say as well as I do, but in the way that I'm used to, that would be fantastic. If anybody's out there got an ironing AI or an ironing robot, let me know. Mick says, question of the day, after 3 wars of marriage, I'm not sure AI will make a difference. Got my ironing down to a T now. Yeah. As I say, there's a bit of me it's in some ways it's a bit like how I see fishing. Bizarrely, I switch the iron on, get the ironing board out, and just zone out. I'm just doing that, not thinking about anything. It's just, maybe that's just me. Gary Muirhead now, wouldn't that? If anybody from Liebherr is still watching, or possibly our friends over in China, they're good at this sort of stuff. Question of the day: something to dig out the tracks on the machine. Oh, imagine that. Imagine you were sat in the cab and you thought, a bit boggy, could probably do with digging out the tracks. Press a button and something comes along and just sucks all of that crap out of your tracks, possibly gives them a bit of a lube or a bit of a tighten while you're there, but keeps your tracks spick and... Wouldn't that be fantastic? Wouldn't that be fantastic? And can you imagine if you were the only person on site with that? Everybody else would be pleading for it. I thought this is an interesting take, and I've got to be honest. I mean, that is kind of where we are, and that's what prompted me to do the podcast on with my AI buddy Bruce yesterday. That's exactly where we are. As it stands at the moment, there is no clear front runner. I know that Liebherr put out a statement yesterday that they've actually got a wheel loader, one of their wheel loaders, running on hydrogen in Salzburg. And they've actually put a hydrogen station in there, or there is a hydrogen station there, I can't actually remember. So there's that going on over there. Obviously, there are lots of people, Volvo, JCB, Bobcat, are really pushing the envelope with electric. We're still very much clinging on to all things diesel. HVO is lurking in the background, maybe biodiesel or biofuels are lurking in the background. And as it stands at the moment, I don't think we've actually got the right answer. Obviously, there was that consultation going on with the UK government. The UK government basically asking the market what they wanted the future to look like, and therefore the future legislation to look like. But I don't actually believe we're any closer to a proper solution here. And it was interesting speaking to my AI buddy Bruce yesterday. He described, when I explained the situation, you may have seen it on the beginning of the show, when I explained the fact that we're currently very keen on diesel because it's what we know. We have the option of electric, but there is the promise of hydrogen to come. And he described, I say he described electric as it stands at the moment as an intermediate technology. I'm not sure that's right. I don't necessarily believe that electric is purely intermediate. I do think it will have a longer term effect. I think there will be certain applications, certain machine sizes that will be electric for the future. But we still don't know which way it's going to go. And as our friend from Liebherr said, that's exactly why OEMs need to be guided by the customer's market and infrastructure plans. They do indeed. And Mark, I do think that market sentiment is going to be one of the big drivers here. I think if the market said, okay, we've really looked at this, we've really looked at hydrogen, we've really looked at electric, and we're going to go with this option. And again, going back to the hydrogen argument, as it stands at the moment, you'd struggle to get your hands on some hydrogen. And the biggest issue that I have at the moment is we don't have any real notion on how much hydrogen will cost. I realised, I likened this, I was talking to somebody, I think I was talking to Tim Burnhope at JCB, and I said, the problem with hydrogen and electric running concurrently is there is a temptation to think, why should I buy the iPhone 15 when the iPhone 16 comes out in a few months? So why should I go electric when hydrogen might come along? The problem with that, as it stands at the moment, is we don't know how much hydrogen is likely to cost or how available it will be. I think you dismiss electric at your peril, but that's just my own personal take. That's our friends from China. High Rich International Machinery Company. Never heard of them. Let's have a look. What else do we have here? I will drop a line over to Tigerbar, I promise. That is, you have my word on that. We used to say a Liebherr road railer was the Rolls Royce of the rail industry. Yeah, Yeah, listen, I wouldn't necessarily argue with that. I mean, I tend to refer to them as the BMW, possibly, but yeah, they really are that good. They really are that good, and I was saying now, Liebherr machines at the bottom end are good. Liebherr machines middle range are really good. Liebherr machines at the very top of the range, great. They really are. How does a construction firm do £1.2 billion turnover? Wow. I guess you have your finger in a lot of pies and you work very, very hard. But that really is a phenomenon. Do you remember when £1 billion was a lot of money? Yeah. Dan's not voting either. Can't say I blame you. Now, this is the most meta comment I think we've ever had. I think this is the most meta comment we've ever had. So we have the question of the day, and we have a mystery machine. Well, our friend Chris Ford has combined the two. As you know, our question of the day today is, what task would you get an AI to perform? Chris Ford says, getting the answer to the mystery machine. Well played, sir. Well played. Matthew Sheridan says that hydrogen refueling station is the first in Europe. There you are. In Salzburg. See, I did see that. Used to? Oh, I see. Refer to it as the Rolls Royce. Okay, just to be clear, we used to say Liebherr Rollrailer was the Rolls Royce of the rail industry. That's because Gary Muirhead is not on the rail industry side of things anymore. I don't think he's suggesting for one moment that Liebherr has taken their foot off the pedal or that they have diminished in quality or excellence. I think that's just Gary moving on. I promise. We are all believers in the mighty Liebherr around these places. Mick says, I often wonder why demo blokes get married. Over the years, I lost count of how many divorces went on in Demolition, but we never get divorced from the game. C'est la vie. Yeah. We did mention this before, and I think Peter McKenna actually had a look on Google and came back to suggest that actually construction and demolition wasn't, as I feared it might be, wasn't the top of the divorce league table. But yeah, certainly a lot of people I know in the industry have gone through divorce, because you are, I know, we talk about golf widows and stuff like that, but if you're working in demolition and construction, you are very much married to your job. You spend more time with that than you are likely to do with your spouse. So it is entirely understandable. But again, I come back to everything that I say in relation to this. I come back to the thing that I say about mental health. I think we need to take a big step backwards. Don't focus on the minutiae. Let's have a look at the bigger picture and think, is this really the best way to run the industry? Making people work away from home, dangerous situations and stuff. I think it's something we need to look at. Gary Muirhead just backing me up on what I said. I'm glad he did. After 30 years on the rail, yes, I'm not doing it anymore. So yes, not decrying the Liebherr machines at all. Question of the day, for the measure of concrete needed. Well, Dan, you see, that exists. Get yourself, bear with me, get yourself one of these, bit of Chat GPT, get the 4 Omni version, the 4.0 version, and you can do, the AI will do that calculation for you. You tell it widths and lengths and depths, it will come back, it will tell you how to do the calculation, and then it will do the calculation for you. And it will, I've tested it. I did it because Steve Williamson said exactly the same thing. I tested it and it works. Get yourself some Chat GPT. Back on job, barley, any coverage, so take it easy. Barely any coverage. I think back on the barley. Okay, barely any coverage, so take it easy and stay safe. Wasn't Liebherr the go-to for demolition at one time? It was, and in some circles, it still is. Yeah, it's a very, very competitive market. And I think it's competitive for a number of reasons, one of which is Demolition is quite small. You know, if you're talking about demolition companies that are in the market for a dedicated demolition machine, a high-reach machine or something like that, there's probably only 400 or 500 of them in the entire country. So it is very, very, very competitive. And they do seem to take it in turns. You know, Caterpillar will have a moment in the spotlight, and then Liebherr will have a go, then Komatsu will come along, then Hitachi and the Volvo, and so it goes on. Not entirely sure who's sat in the lead at the moment, but I mean, certainly there, when you look up and down the country, there are pockets. There's a pocket of Caterpillar, and there's a pocket of Hitachi, and there's a pocket of Volvo, and so on down the line. When it was a choice between a Komatsu T10,000 or a Liebherr, you know what I'll choose. Indeed. And a T10,000 sounds like wasn't that? No, that was a T1000. T1000 was the Milky Mercury looking Terminator, wasn't it? Wasn't that? Did I get that right? The T1000? That was the upgraded Schwarzenegger, I think. It's been a while. I haven't watched it in ages. Everybody, that's it. That's an hour of your day already gone. As I say, in about 23 minutes over on YouTube, the latest AI podcast will drop. It'll also be on audio as well. So if you'd like to go and take a look at that, love to get your feedback on it. Love to get your feedback on all of these things. And also Demolition Insider, I've sent you the link if you're in the WhatsApp group. Go and have a look at the article about companies that collapse and bounce back immediately. Found over the years, says Mick, that no matter who the manufacturer is, if you're not Flavour of the Month, hard luck. There is a thing that I say to, I don't consult. I have consulted, but I don't consult with major manufacturers. I just get to spend a lot of time with them. The one thing I would say about Demolition, probably more than any other part of the business that I've ever been involved in, is Demolition is, you need to be ever present. You know, if there's an IDE meeting, be there. If there's an NFDC meeting, be there. Get yourself around the industry, get to see the people, get to know the people, get to understand the people, and that will make a big, big difference. It really will. And I've seen that over the years, and I'm going to go back to one in a second, but there was a guy called Alistair Jansen who was working for Liebherr, and he went over to Caterpillar, possibly the other way around, and the loyalty from the demolition industry followed him from place to place. Matthew Sheridan says we still offer some of the very best in specialist demolition machines, very best effective working envelopes. We lost some traction in the industry due to the passing of Darren Bennett, who died a few years ago, and he was that guy. He was that ever-present force within demolition. I mean, the very fact that racking my brains, I'm fairly sure it's John Mould down in Reading. There is actually a machine with Darren's face on the side of it. How big an impact has a plant salesman had when you have a machine of one of your customers with your photograph on it in your memory? You've done your job properly if you've got that. You really have. Dan says, working your moustache, you need to do it like the French. Yes, do you know, the wife's not here at the moment, so I'm going to tell you this reason. She hates the beard. So I am planning to grow it out a bit. And yes, the tash, I'd like a nice twizzly tash. Keep watching. My beard grows very, very slowly. You may have to wait some time. Mick says, stay safe. Fellas, walkie's time. He was very much loved by all his customers. Yeah, he really did. Oddly enough, and I've said this before, Darren and I didn't always see eye to eye. In any way, shape or form. But I can't remember anyone from the equipment sales side of the business having such a positive impact while he was around, and then such an outpouring of grief when he suddenly wasn't. Nothing more I can say. I know, obviously, we lost Phil Jones during COVID over at Volvo, and that was obviously a sad loss. But as I say, it really was an absolute kick to the guts of everyone in the demolition industry when Darren passed away a couple of years ago. And our friend Wolfwelder, all the way from the US of A, has just joined us. Unfortunately, my friend, you have arrived just as we're all heading out the door. But good to see you. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. I'm off to send an email off to Matthew Sheridan to try and organise a dedicated Leap Air show. So stand by your beds. I'll keep you focused on that. Phil was an amazing man, says Matthew. Yes, he really was. Yeah, he really was. Just a really sort of personable guy, like Darren, but really personable guy. You found yourself at a do, and you know, an NFDC do, an IDE do, and you found yourself sat next to Darren or sat next to Phil. You were going to have a good day, and I miss them both. So yes, that's where we are, people. Let's not end on a sad note. Go and have a listen to the podcast. That might cheer you up a bit, because you'll get to see that the AI knows way more than I do. Not that that's any great accomplishment. I'll be back here tomorrow for more of the same, 10 o'clock tomorrow. And don't forget, this time next week, or not this time precisely, but Wednesday next week, we will be doing our dedicated Volvo show in the company of Bill Law. So keep an eye out for that. And hopefully after today or in the next couple of days, I'll be able to tell you exactly when we're going to do our dedicated Leap Air show. So watch this space. Everybody have a fantastic day. Really appreciate all your input. Really appreciate your presence. See you all very soon. Have a good day. Tatty bye.